listening to the Offbeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
Well, hello, American business owners. This is Susan Hamilton, your host of Offbeat Business TV and the Offbeat Business Show on OBBM Radio Dallas. Today, we are talking with Jacklyn Shapiro of Shapiro Hurst Associates about some of the things that have been going on with our credit. And timely enough, we're talking about scary credit issues. But friends, first I want to address you because you know we love you and I want to help you understand just how sincere this movement is with Offbeat Business Media, because we represent you, American business owners, as the authentic voice. Because 80% of American micro to small business owners tend to be family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. That means we're building our business while we're raising our kids, taking care of our parents. We probably have a veteran or active duty in our family or workspace, and over 30% of us have an addict in our family or workspace. That means things are different today. It means the types of things that Jackie and I are going to be talking about really apply to us a little bit differently. And we need to know that we are really making a difference in our space with that shortage of time and that huge distraction that has become American life and business. So let's make a difference here, because it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to make more money, build a strong, influential brand, and start to take some ownership of what's going on in our communities in a much more powerful way. So with that, hey Jackie, thank you so much for being here today. Glad to have you. So you've been seeing a lot of things ever since the Equifax mess. Would you help describe to us a little bit? Because as we were talking earlier, you said, you know, a lot of people don't even really realize that happened. So help us understand what recently has happened with our credit experience.
Okay, so we've got a couple of different things that are happening because of the Equifax breach. And I think it's important for people to know that even though Equifax was breached, and yes, it's one of the largest data breaches in history. But if we even go back to 2005, Susan, we've had over 7,700 breaches. And the escalation of identity theft and fraud losses have continued to rise. So just as an example, last year, we had 15.4 million people affected by identity theft and $16 billion worth of fraud loss just last year.
That's amazing. And I've heard that your information can be across the world in like 5 minutes or less.
Oh, and we actually had an associate that we know who has some skills in digging things like that up. And we actually found, just as recent as within the last 48 hours, that from a Russian site, that now your information, I was also breached, so my name, my social security number, my not my driver's license, excuse me, name, address, social, and date of birth is worth $1.35 in Russia right now. And if you wanted my bank account number, then I'm worth a little more than $6. But when you times that by $145 million, you're talking, or 145 million people, then you're talking a lot of money that's sitting out there with just the information that was breached by Equifax alone. So people understanding, how do you protect yourself? What do you do? What's that checklist? What areas really can be affected? Then that's the first step in protecting yourself and your family, and particularly the elderly who are dependent on Social Security and disability income, or your veterans in your family that are dependent on that income as well, because all of those areas can be affected.
So when you talk about how they can be affected, help us understand what that looks like and what that means. What on earth can happen if someone else knows who you are somewhere else?
I'll give you an example that happened in our office just this last week. One of the women that we're working with, she came in and she goes, my husband had a roommate 10 years ago. Roommate stole his driver's license, got arrested. Husband went into DMV to renew his license, and they wanted to put him in handcuffs, because now he had a criminal record that had been established by this roommate, because the roommate gave the driver's license. The driver's license, as you know, is connected to all of our automotive needs. And so now, even 10 years later, the man's still carrying around a mugshot and a fingerprint.
Oh my goodness.
of the roommate.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
Get stopped in the airport every time they travel. So that's only one area. So criminal charges are one area, utilities, housing authorities, credit cards, you name it. It can all be affected. And the key is really our Social Security numbers. That is truly the one piece of key information that links everything else.
So what is that checklist? What are some things that we need to be paying attention to that we can do preemptively?
So preemptively, it's number one, check your credit reports. We've got some suggestions on our website, and we can email anybody that wants that checklist. But first and foremost, check the credit reports. See if there's anything out of place. Are there any inquiries that you don't recognize? Are there any accounts that you don't recognize? Because that's generally where it starts. So after you check your credit reports, if everything is in order now, then the best thing to do is shut down your credit reports. Now you can freeze them. The credit bureaus have two methods for security: fraud alerts and security freezes. Fraud alerts are really not comprehensive enough to cover what's going on right now. So we don't recommend a fraud alert. That just means that if I apply for credit with you, you're supposed to call me to make sure that I'm applying for credit. Most of the time that doesn't happen.
So you're not talking about those times when you make a purchase and your bank stops everything and says, hey, wait a minute, we want to make sure that's you. You're not talking about that being the fraud alert.
That's correct. This would be directly at a credit bureau level. What you're referring to is what I call one of the 8 secret credit scores. It's called a fraud alert or a fraud score. And the bank runs that on us all the time, credit card companies. So that means you've got an area of normal activity that's here. But now there's a charge in Cancun, Mexico, and maybe that's outside your norm. So that's when they shut down your card and they call you and go, have you been here or are you there? Or you try to use your card and it just simply doesn't work. So again, going back to that checklist, checking the credit reports, freezing them, and just so you guys know, the bureaus will charge you $10 each at each bureau to shut those down and to freeze them. It's worth that small investment to protect. If you become a victim of identity theft or fraud, it can become a very expensive, tedious, and frustrating process. So it's worth the $10 per bureau.
Certainly. Help us understand what the freeze means, though. What happens now if we've invoked a freeze?
So if you were to freeze your credit reports, let's say that either you come to me to apply for credit or someone has your information and they're coming to apply to me for credit. That means if I go to pull your credit reports, I will come up with absolutely nothing. It means no one can access your credit history in any shape, form at all, unless you physically call the bureaus, lift the freeze for me to pull your credit reports, for you to apply for that car or that house or whatever it is that you're doing on your financial end.
Okay, so we can do that for a specific instance and freeze it otherwise.
You can do it long term, which will last 7 years. Correct.
Oh, wow. Do you advise that?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. As soon as I found out I was breached, that was the first action that I took for myself. I've been working in and around credit over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'm giving everybody advice that I would personally and have personally taken myself to protect me and my family. So first thing, check the reports, freeze your reports. If you've got credit cards, you need to call your credit card company. Say, hey, I've been part of this breach. Can you please send me a new card? So nullifying as much information as possible is the first step for protection. So everything that has been breached and is out there, as much as you can void out of that information, the more protected you'll be.
So how do we handle if we've discovered a breach? What on earth do we do then?
So next step, if you have been breached and you've taken all of these measures, but now you're getting some of the key signs are a collector's calling you or a company's calling you saying, hey, why didn't you make a payment? Or you're getting a weird letter in the mail for an account that you've never had. I mean, there are some really specific signs that can come up that are triggers for identity theft. So if you're seeing any of those signs, then don't ignore them. Get on top of them right away. Don't bypass them as, oh, they must have just gotten the wrong address. Be proactive. Once you are a victim of identity theft, it's very important to make sure that you file a police report. In this particular type situation, you're not going to know who that person is. So you can put unknown as far as who they're going to ask, who has done this? 90% of the time it's a family member. In this type of situation, it's absolutely fine to say, I have no idea. But you've got to file a police report. You've got to do an identity theft affidavit. The Federal Trade Commission has one that's very good and very widely accepted for most companies. And then you've got to start addressing anybody that is giving you those letters or showing something on your credit report, getting that information to them and being proactively owning your own security when it comes to your credit.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Jacklyn. We've got so much more to cover. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on at Shapiro Hurst Associates, because I think it's going to inspire you. You're watching Offbeat Business TV and listening to the Offbeat Business Show.
The American business economy is positioned as it has never been before. Professional videography is a core element for attracting a higher level of engagement with the people group you need for significant impact. Now is your time to shine. My name is Bill Brock, owner of White Rock Films, and I invite you to a powerful opportunity in the marketplace. An opportunity to draw excited people to your events, an opportunity to showcase your ideas on infrastructure, an opportunity to become known as the industry authority and enjoy the associated benefits of a strong, influential brand. Video highlights, video teaches. Video puts a resistant market at ease, and video stirs the hearts and imaginations of your allies and strategic client base. White Rock Films offers full audio, video production for businesses ready to embrace the future, handling your project with professionalism, experience, and polish unheard of in the industry. My name is Bill Brock, and White Rock Films wants your business. See us online at whiterockfilms.com.
And we're back. Hi, this is Susan Hamilton. You're watching Offbeat Business TV and listening to the Offbeat Business Show. I'm talking with Jacklyn Shapiro. She likes to go by Jackie with Shapiro Hurst Associates. And she's helping us understand a little bit about the recent Equifax breach, but also what we need to know just on a broad scale about protecting our credit and protecting our situation. But what I want you to really know about Jackie, I've known her for several years, and I've watched some of the things that she's doing in our community. And Jackie, I think it sets such a great example because you take it very seriously that you're not just a woman in business growing her business, which, by the way, you've blown up. You've doubled the size of your business just over this last year. Not only that, but you're getting out there and helping the community and helping people understand it's not just repair and recovery, which you really do a marvelous job at with all the connections that you've made in these areas, but you're also supporting our youth and making sure that they know where their resources are and helping them understand money at a very young age. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the Boys and Girls Club.
I love working with the kids. I truly love working with the kids. Growing up, it wasn't the best childhood, just, in a lot of areas. And so as an adult, it's become a true passion, to help these kids before they really get started. And so with the Boys and Girls Club, we've got a lot of kids that are there, and a lot of them are latchkey kids, or they're single mom, single dad families. And so when they go through the summer programs, we really try to inspire and encourage them and reward them for truly participating, getting in there and being a part. And so one of the things that is the highlight of my year is our ice cream social. And so, it's not that it's a whole lot. It's taking some ice cream and Hot Wheels, and we partner with a couple of other companies, and we come in and all we're really doing is serving them ice cream and giving them a choice of, hey, do you want gummy bears on it, or do you want sprinkles on it, or do you want candy on it, and giving them a Hot Wheel at the same time. But the difference that it makes in these kids' world is, somebody walking up behind you, it's still this tall, and they're just bear hugging you from behind because that small act means so much to them. So yes, it's something that I'm passionate about in helping these children, but I can't, I mean, honestly, Susan, it is such a rewarding thing internally to know that it really, this small act makes such a big difference.
You've been with them for a while.
Yeah, a few years.
So when you probably have had some wonderful opportunities to see some of the same kids year after year and see some of the progress that they're making.
I have, and some of the older kids now are in their senior years, and they're about to move on, so we won't see them this next year, but you know, it's just very rewarding to see how they're growing and how they help the younger kids. You know,
That's it, isn't it? Teaching that leadership from that level.
It is. So yes, that is. It's got a very special place next to my heart.
I know another thing that has a special place next to your heart because you have put a lot of work together, putting together a curriculum to help kids understand accounting. And I guess kids is probably an inappropriate phrase these days, our youth. But I have kids, my grown kids are still kids, so I don't mean that disrespectfully. But they're learning how to handle numbers and how to look at accounting and simple checkbook balancing and this type of thing. Tell me about the progress that you're making in this area and what you've put together. And what would you like people to know about that?
So as far as a curriculum, we have put together a curriculum that covers the basics of credit and finance. So when we look back historically, and particularly when it comes to credit, you can't learn it in school. They don't teach it in college. So people coming in, excuse me, I'm going to say young adults, coming into the credit world. When they're coming into the credit world, you know, the basic line that we get from parents and grandparents is, pay your bills on time so you'll have great credit. And while that is very good advice, that's only a small part of the bigger picture. So going out there and being part of, you know, we're very blessed to be part of the University of Texas, some of the private schools here locally.
Excellent.
And they have us come in and speak with the kids. We help the kids with their entrepreneurial programs every year and come in and do a panel for them and, you know, help give them guidance. We don't critique, but we give them guidance on, you know, that is a fantastic product. Have you looked at this? And so, yes, building that curriculum and giving them the information and knowledge to go, wow, no one ever told me that, but that's really good. I'm going to use that from now on. Knowing that we're making a difference with these kids coming out of college or going into college and giving them that foundation, love it, love it, love it.
Well, that's exciting. I'm thrilled about that. But I do want to ask you something a little more controversial. Also, because I'm wondering, I saw something the other day that piqued my interest. And since you're working with these young adults with math's changed a bit. Math has changed a bit. Are you recognizing any of that stuff when you're getting together and working with these kids? Any areas where you're like, wow, I think this is easier now or harder now? Or what's your opinion in this area, if you don't mind?
I could go back to my own daughter.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the pre-SATs, everybody was just taking those. It's in high school. And I was reading through part of the curriculum and I was like, wow, I don't even think we took pre-SATs when I was at school.
Right.
And I was looking at some of the things that she's doing at her grade level and I was really surprised. I think that the kids now are being pushed a little bit further.
Oh, so you would probably like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like they're actually being pushed a little bit further if, you know, they're in the right place and they're really paying attention. So from my perspective, I'm glad to see that. For me personally, I would never use trigonometry in what I do.
I know, right?
But it's nice.
There's a place for it.
Oh, absolutely. Go be a rocket scientist. Yeah, you know.
We need those too.
Yes, we do. But from what I see personally, I think that the kids are being a little bit more challenged, which I love to see them being pushed.
Now that's in the high school level and the pre-college level. Do you notice anything when you're working with the younger kids now with some of the newer math coming out?
Because mostly what we're focusing on is credit, and yes, we work with some percentages and we work with, you know, specific accounts and how to manage, but I think that the math that we're doing with them is probably on most occasions, it's a lower, very simplified approach to versus what the school would be teaching them.
All right. So we've got, lots of hope. So all of you that are hearing all these things in social media that our kids are having this hard time with math, it looks like we're going to be able to step right alongside them and give them a hand.
Absolutely.
And you're setting that example and showing us that that can be done. Yay, let's get rid of all of the fear monsters associated with numbers and money. Jacklyn, tell us a little bit before we go about some of the things that that you're doing differently as Shapiro Hurst Associates, because girl, you're doing things differently as Shapiro Hurst Associates, and you've been able to bring on a much larger team to accommodate the needs of the community, which are great because you're not just about credit repair.
No, not even close. Not even close. No, Shapiro Hurst and Associates, when Jacklyn Hurst and myself, when we came together to build this idea that we had, like most entrepreneurs, we had this vision of what could be done, where could we make this difference. And the first thing that really was important to us was the integrity of the company, what we're doing and how we're doing it. You know, we see a lot of companies in the industry. I actually, shockingly so, I talked to somebody in the industry the other day and they said, I never even look at a credit report before I sign a client up. And I was like, what? How could you possibly know if this is the right road for this person to go down if you don't even know what the problem is that they're facing or what's important to them or what their goal is or what their time frame is? How could you,
It's eye-opening, yes.
How could you do that? So I was very polite and cordial about that conversation, but inside I was just freaking out because I was thinking, this is no integrity whatsoever. So what we learned a long time ago and what really sets us apart is we're not just about, let's stick everybody in credit repair, this is one size fits all, because it's not. Credit's like kids. They're all highly unique, highly individual situations. And so if life happens, and for everybody listening, if life has happened, it happens to all of us, myself included. So if you're having any, internal debate or anything in there going, I really don't want to tell anybody, I've got this issue with credit. Hey, look, I had to scrub my own reports at one time after a bad divorce. You're not alone. That said, credit repair isn't the only solution. I mean, we've got some of our clients that they're in the process of getting a house, but a brand new collection hits a report that could instantly be 80 to 100 points. They're supposed to close in 3 weeks, and now they're not qualified, and you've got a realtor who's freaking out, and you've got a loan officer that's freaking out.
Sure, I imagine that's a common scenario, isn't it?
It is, and you've got a client that's completely freaking out because they've already sold their house and they're packed. So we can come in as a 911 for them. And so part of that is our consumer advocacy services. And so by building those relationships inside the Fortune 500 companies and the collection agencies, we build those relationships built on trust. And again, integrity is a big part of what we do. So understanding compliance and navigating that on behalf of the client, we're able to create a win-win scenario. If the debt is legitimate, it gets it paid for that company or that collector. And for our client, we resolve it so it's permanently removed from the reports at the same time based on legitimate evidence and working it the right way.
That's so important, and you're building a name for yourself here. That's very strong. It's very important, and to go from 9 to 20 employees in the short period of time, that I think to do that in a year is pretty exemplary.
Thank you.
I'm just really thrilled for you, and I'm excited for opportunities to share what you're doing in the community to help us just open our eyes.
Oh yeah.
And to take the big scary out. That's one of the reasons I wanted to share her with you, because so often when it comes to those numbers, like you said, we've got that feeling like, I don't want anybody to see this. But you can't solve anything if you don't look.
Right, and everybody has that. And guys, it doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete, if you're a Highland Park executive, or you're the teacher down the street. Everybody will experience a credit issue. It is not a matter of if you will, but when you will and to what degree. Yeah. So don't feel that reservation. If something's going on, reach out to us. We'll help you. The worst possible case scenario is that you're going to walk away from a conversation with us more empowered about how credit works without it costing you a dime to do so.
Excellent. And you actually do some speaking on this.
Yes, I do. Quite a bit, actually. Yes.
So let us know how to reach out to you if your team or your organization would like to hear Jackie Shapiro share on this such an important issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're wanting to contact us, you can contact us through the website, which is shapiro-hurst.com. SHAPIRO hyphen or dash HURST.com. My personal line at the office is 469-619-0717. And for the listeners of the Offbeat radio show and for Susan Hamilton, I will also give everyone my personal cell phone. Feel free to reach out to me. 214-662-0072. We're here to help.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing such vital information. You had mentioned you've got some things coming up. Would you like to share any of that stuff that you've got going on in this fourth quarter of the year before you end? Some of the things that maybe you could use some assistance and some support with as you go forward.
Absolutely. One of our main goals, especially with the atmosphere and the identity theft and the fraud, which we're already seeing activity on, we're very intent on giving back to the community in this regard as far as getting the information out there, getting everyone knowledgeable and knowing what to do and how to do it. So if you are in the HR department of any of the companies here locally or inside Texas, actually we travel all over the U.S., but if you're in HR and you're in a management position there, please call me. We can set something up and we can come in to help educate your staff. Better credit means higher productivity, less stress, better health. It's an overall win-win for your company and your employees.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have anything going on with some of the other organizations that you're supporting?
Let's see. I actually have to look at my calendar.
I know. You had mentioned, you were mentioning some Habitat with Humanity coming up.
Habitat for Humanity will be out there next week. They're in South Dallas, helping to promote and educate for the community about some of the housing programs and lending programs and just supporting their efforts in the community. So that'll be coming up next week.
Excellent, excellent.
And then the rest. I have to look at my calendar.
I know, there's so much, and I think that's really what I wanted to end this note on.
Yes.
Is if you think that you're too busy to get involved with your community, friends, that's what you're in business for. Everything that you're doing here has this wonderful opportunity to lift up our communities, especially during a time when American business may not have such a favorable view in so many areas. But we can do something about this. We can really step up in the space even when we are working with 20 employees and a large company and on speaking tour and everything else. And I think you just really set a great example for that, Jackie. Thank you so much that you juggle those types of things and you step out in this community and you show us how to get it done. You had said that there's one, I said, Jackie, how do you do this? Do you want to tell our audience how you do this?
When it comes to blocking out time for the stuff that's important, for me, I put it in the calendar. Once it's set in the calendar, then it's there. It's immovable, and we just simply set the time aside and say, this is part of the day, this is what's going to get done, and this is being set as a priority. Other than that, if you just try to, for me personally, if I just try to wiggle stuff in, it never works. So for me, it's hard set in a calendar. You go by the calendar, and that's the way that I personally stay on track, yes.
Now, that says a lot about the integrity of this woman and the integrity of the business. And I think you're absolutely right. We're going to do the things that we make time for. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in to listen to Jackie Shapiro with Shapiro Hurst Associates. And if you want to give them your contact information one more time.
Yes, absolutely. Please call us. We are here to help. 469-619-0717, direct line at my office, and 214-662-0072, and that is for your listeners. That's myself.
Well, now, if you didn't have a chance to write that down, you'll have all that information underneath this audio, underneath this video. as you come back to look at the programming we've got here at Offbeat Business TV and on the Offbeat Business Show. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable attention and your valuable time today. And take advantage of everything that Jacklyn Shapiro is doing over here in this community. It's a big deal, folks, and we can get this done. Until next time, this is Susan Hamilton. You've been watching Offbeat Business TV and listening to the Offbeat Business Show.
You've been listening to the Offbeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the Offbeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the Offbeat Business app today.
Take this for me, but